I'd like to call to order the regular meeting, of the Board of Selectmen for Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any public comments? I see Kendra's otter pilot. Nothing, okay. Correspondence? None, okay. What I'd like to do, I'm gonna forego the first request second before because we're gonna have a busy night. I would like to make a couple of additions to and changes to the agenda. So first, I'd like to make a motion that we change the consideration of tax refunds from $819.07. Oh, do I have the right one? Hold on here. Yes, to $7,299.85.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries. I'd also like to make a motion that we add to the agenda consideration of ARPA funds previously allocated to the Bethel Fire Department. A second.
Second.
All in favor?
Can you just repeat that? What are we doing?
Yeah, so I'd like to add to the agenda, make a motion to add to the agenda a consideration of ARPA funds previously allocated to the Bethel Fire Department. And we're already doing Stony Hill, so at Bethel. And all in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. And finally, I'd like to add to the agenda consideration of Bethel becoming designated as a Highlands town.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that's it with the agenda. Thank you for that. Okay, so the first agenda item is consideration of the approval of Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes on June 6, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, and yeah, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is consideration of tax refunds in the amount of $7,299.85 due to overpayment. We have a motion to accept the tax refunds.
Second.
Okay, and any discussion? Pretty straightforward. If anybody looks at the back on the tax refund sheet, yeah, the individual actually submitted two separate large payments, and that's why the number's there. So, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None, motion carries. Next on the agenda is consideration of the approval of the 2023 Oktoberfest application from the old train station committee dated June 7, 2023. I move we accept the approval.
Second.
Is that on Sunday?
I don't think so. Let's look it up. Take a peek. That was a Saturday.
You know, I always ask, you know, did we talk to the barber shop and the, you know,
Yeah.
bakery, and they kind of need that parking lot.
They usually give them a heads up. What was the date? Mary?
Sunday.
It is.
Oh, it's okay, so the barber shop's closed.
The only other thing I'll note is that my understanding in the past, the application fee was $250. I know that they've raised the amount to 500.
Who's that?
What's the date of the?
So this is September 17th, 2023.
It's a Sunday.
It's marked C1.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah. If you look on the back of that second page, in the minutes, they actually agreed to charge a fee of $500 to Broken Symmetry. That goes to the old train station account. I want to acknowledge that they have raised the fee, I think, from where it was before. My understanding is it was $250. But I think given what it is, it's not unreasonable.
Can I make a comment, please?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Marty.
I was, when I looked this over, one of the things I noticed is, the train committee had down there that they had to get, sign offs from planning and zoning, fire marshal, health department, police, state liquor. The one thing they don't say is that, we need to make sure that they have insurance. They need to provide us with proof of insurance for the day.
Understood. I believe we have the economic development director in line. Janice, can you chime in?
Yep, I'm here.
Do we know if you have requested or required it?
Says it right
Is
here.
it on here?
Certification of liability insurance in the
Oh,
amount of
you've
$1
got it.
million
Okay.
required, yes.
All
Right.
right.
Yep.
Leave it.
All right. All right, well, good. Our council had brought that up. So, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carries. And I did not remember to take this off the agenda. We did not receive the appointments to the Sustainable Bethel Commission yet. We should receive those in the next day or so. So that'll be on the next agenda. Mary, could you just table that to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Next up is I move we discuss the consideration of ARPA funds previously allocated to the Stony Hill Fire Department. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. So in consideration, Chief, you want to go ahead and walk us through what we're looking at?
Okay, first of all, I want to apologize for last month. It was a little difficult to understand. I wasn't able to attend the meeting. I did take off the cover sheet the items that have previously been approved, the power load and stretcher under the EMS, and also the AEDs from the fire side. I did check with most all of the vendors that the dollar values of the quotes are valid. And I did correct the Motorola APX charger and conditioners and batteries. They gave us a couple of choices on the quote for batteries, so that made the price a little difficult to read. So I crossed that out and put in what batteries are that we currently have that we want to continue to have. So the first item was 2 Motorola radios for the ambulance. We decided that that was necessary because the surrounding towns are changing to digital, which means the radios that we currently have will not function shortly to speak with them. We have to get a newer style radio. 2 training mannequin kits. We're looking to have updated equipment. The mannequins that we have right now for CPR training are obsolete and do not meet the standards. We put in for 2 kits because we'd also like to train and possibly do a fundraiser for the community to train people in the community for CPR. An iPad for the back of the ambulance. We decided that 2 on the ambulance were necessary, 1 for the CAD system up front and the navigation, and in the back would be for patient care, and a mount for it to keep it safe and charged. The fire side, 2 chimney kits for each fire engine will help with chimney fires. 13 unification pagers. We're finding that some of the pagers that we have from Motorola, we're no longer in the pager business, are not worth fixing. So we need to start purchasing new pagers. 2 command boards. Stony Hill does not have command boards like Bethel has for larger incidents, so we wanted to get those boards as well. We're just going to copy what they had. We wanted to give back to the membership for all of their work during COVID. So we put in for winter parkas that will be obviously labeled and reflective striping, and also have their name on it, which we can change it as needed. A 5 gas metered docking station. The meter was approved in the operational budget, but we needed a way to calibrate it. It does not work with the 4 gas meter docking station. And this helps to keep from losing gas from doing it just from a hose with a docking station. It's a little bit more efficient, which saves you on the gas. Battery operated positive pressure ventilation fan. Today's industry, having batteries will give you the same CFMs as using a gas engine, but you don't have the carbon monoxide. You're taking the smoke out, but adding the CO into the building. Motorola APX charger and conditioner and 6 spare batteries. The reason we put that in was the batteries need to be conditioned for the new radios that the town spent over $400,000 on, and to get a better battery life, we needed a conditioner, and to keep the radios in service. It does take hours to charge and condition, so we needed a set of spare batteries to put into the radio during that time frame. And we put in for a thermal imaging camera and a truck charger. We just had one actually break, and they can repair it. So we decided to do that.
Do you have a total line item?
I don't.
Yeah, I believe the total for the EMS is $19,859.85. And fire is $53,294.14. I didn't have both because I was measuring them separately because fire and EMS, but yes.
We're splitting 75,000, 79,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Chief, do you know where you stand on the original 75 and 75 with those two figures?
Yeah, because I have a spreadsheet that's telling me what each has left. I have $759.24 on EMS and $13,115.16 on fire.
After spending.
After this.
After this, yeah.
Okay, so the total for these two is $73,153.99. That's the total.
But we have to do them individually.
Yeah, he just asked about the
Yeah.
total. I gotta ask one of the questions. Winter Park is $340 each for 50 people. Is it standard to give out? Is that something we'll be using kind of on the job?
Yes, they will be.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why they'll have the reflective striping.
Okay.
And the reflective name on the back.
Okay. Wanted to double check because it sounded like a big one, but yeah, if you're using it for that. Any other discussion before we move to a motion?
I'll move the motion to approve the EMS, and what was it, 19,000?
$19,859.85.
So move.
Just second, there's a second by Selectman Terzian, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none motion carries.
And I'll make the motion to approve the fire allocation of $53,294.14.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
And maybe just add that comes out of the ARPA funds allocated to the department.
Richie, how come you
Yes.
don't want to make the unpleasant motion?
So, yeah. So do we get that?
You could do better.
Come from ARPA funds,
I'm happy to do
okay,
52, 294.14.
53,294.14. And the first is 19,859.85.
19,859.85.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and I believe we actually voted on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Okay, motion carries. Next up is consideration of ARPA funds previously allocated to the Bethel Fire Department. This, I'd like to have a motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss.
You want to move that up, or you want to do the consideration of special counsel?
Oh, I had moved it up to right after.
Oh, okay.
this.
All right.
Yeah, I should have said what it
Okay.
was.
No problem.
Yeah. All in favor of discussion?
Aye.
Give a second.
Of course. Oh,
Right.
Second.
there we go. All right, so what we have before us, Chief, you want to walk us through this?
Sure, the camera system finishes what we've done at Dunkel Fire with the security system. Those are for the outside cameras and related equipment for them. There's 2 payments for that. It gets split in half. I'm asking for the full thing to be approved tonight so that when they do the work, we can get the second check cut and then they're done. Once I accept that everything is done. It's just under $5,000. The second page you see there is Paratech rescue equipment. We have some, we're continuing to build our system. And I know Pete Baker is doing that out in Stony Hill so that we will have plenty of the Paratech equipment to work together with in any instance.
Can you explain, just?
It's
this
like
doesn't know what
rescue,
it-
it's
is it like a
rescue
Earth tool or
struts and,
something?
Yeah,
no,
it's
it's
more like a stabilizing.
it's more like
strut. It's a
stabilizing the
box
struts.
That will keep, you know,
Oh,
let's
so
say.
instead of using
on the
ribbon,
side,
you just use that.
It's all different sizes. It comes with special plates that you connect to it and we can certainly, once we have it, we can certainly do a demo.
So it like replaces cribbing, or you guys used to use under.
You know,
Well, the cribbing is more for
Yeah.
safety once you.
Once you
For lifting a
stabilize.
vehicle.
once you do it. But this will help us lift it and stabilize it. And then you could actually use additional cribbing as a redundancy.
I'd like to see
make
a
sure
demo on
once it's
that, it
rigged.
sounds kind of.
It's a pretty neat thing.
Um,
City of Danbury also has this equipment, and they used it out in Stony Hill when we had the trench collapse.
Chief, do you happen to have your totals where you stand on all fire and EMS
EMS, we have approximately $16,000 left.
after this?
Well, there's nothing there tonight for EMS. Yes, we have approximately $16,000
Oh, okay,
left
16.
on EMS because
Okay.
we bought the 2 stretchers,
Got it,
okay, which was quite expensive, but well worth the money.
right.
To do. I mean, they're like, it cost you like a small car on one of them.
Yeah.
You know, Chief Baker went through the same thing. He had to. And he had to buy a power lift, which luckily we didn't have to do. On the fire side, once we're done tonight, add these two together, which I can do for you. I can tell you exactly what you got.
Very well, the chief's adding, you don't happen to have the ARPA list from last week, do you?
I can get it.
Would you mind? Just so we have it, there's a case. Thank you.
So yeah, 51 to date, if this is approved tonight,
Yep.
51,967.38 that will be spent on the fire side.
51,9,
967.38. Okay. And then you would have approximately $23,032.62 left.
we're gonna wait one minute to our secretary returns.
And the EMS side has 16,825.60 left. And we're actually looking at some equipment, stair chairs. Chief Baker could tell you, they're expensive. Gotcha. And we're looking at a specific stair chair to replace one of them that's older.
Yeah.
And that will eat up most of that, believe it or not.
You got one with a soft
They are
cushion.
not cheap.
No,
You got
No,
one-
they're not so, there's no cushions at all, because, then you might have to wash it, and then, or it's contaminated and you throw it out.
I know someone they down the stairs with the person, each step they say, ouch, ouch,
Yeah.
ouch, ouch.
Yeah, this one actually, this new one actually will move itself.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just guide it.
Oh,
So
that's good.
it's going at a steady pace instead of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's exactly the principle behind it.
Okay. And I'll note on the other 2 pages, thank you for coming back with the correction from the last one.
Oh,
You added
listen.
that in your,
Not only was that to my favor, but I was happy to make sure that it was absolutely correct, because it's an official document. I want to make sure that we have it right.
Yeah.
So like I said, I dated those next to my signature. I want the request tonight and that pass request,
got it.
so that we know that those are the actual records.
Yeah, it was just something we discovered after we just.
Yeah, it was $7,800
Yeah.
more by accident I had put in there for that item. So
Okay.
they would have been sending it back to me anyways. You're saying, what'd you do? You know, there's too much here. That's 1,300, not 30,000. That was for the gang charge. That you talked about earlier.
Oh, fabulous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So much. Now we will
Thank you.
at least check it officially. And so South Street was basically the,
No, I just gave
Stretchers.
those bills to Brad last week. So be aware of that, for the stretchers.
Okay.
Those bills finally came in.
okay,
There was a bill for the stretchers and there was a separate bill for the batteries that go to the stretchers. So
Gotcha.
I did hand those off to Brad and sign them that it was okay to pay them, so I don't know if those have gone out yet. So they may not be deducted yet from your sheet. I don't know. Okay. We're not privy to that sheet.
so the, make sure I understand. Okay, so with respect to the video equipment on here, the cameras,
Cameras,
you
those,
know, $4,941,
right.
right?
Mhm.
That's what I was kind of, so it was two payments of $2,470.
Right, because what happens is
Okay.
the equipment's in, we pay half up front, and
Right.
half is when the job is completed and we make sure everything's working correctly.
So I wanted
And
to
then I
connect,
accept it.
yeah, so I noticed on here that the Board of Selectmen had previously approved the $4,941.
For CNR, and then
That was
when
for
we got the
CNR.
ARPA,
Okay,
I was told that take it out of the ARPA.
What he's saying is we've already.
We've already
approved it.
approved.
But this
it.
is out of our,
You're adding, you're doing.
Okay.
Basically, he's saying you might
So
have
that's already
49,
approved, that's
41
great.
in your favor.
All I know is that it was previously approved for
okay,
CNR, and then I was told, no, we gotta take it out of ARPA.
okay, it looks like they had previously approved it
Yeah.
for ARPA.
So I'm just
Yeah.
making sure. I'm following the rules,
November 15, 2022, we approved that, so.
Because it was that and the pagers.
Did you
Yeah.
order it? When we approved it?
No, now it just came in now.
Oh, it's in,
It's in,
Oh,
the equipment's in,
we already approved it.
because what has to happen is the equipment comes in, we pay them half, like I said. And then they'll come, we'll work at installation, we'll probably be there for a couple days, they'll install them. Do everything they gotta do, we check them, make sure everything works, and then we pay them their final payment.
What's the
So they have not gotten any payment.
So the 4,941 wasn't the initial half that you said you had to pay.
No.
That's the total.
That's the total. That's the total.
So,
Yeah.
and we already approved it, so we have
Okay.
that.
Unless there's any like additional electrical work that's separate from that I may have to have done. That's the total. That's correct.
okay, so in this case then, okay, so what I would recommend is, that we approve $14,911.80 be taken out of ARPA funds for the Bethel Volunteer Fire Department.
Don't we have to amend, didn't we already?
We didn't make a motion.
Oh, we
we
didn't
just
make a
for
motion?
discussion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I second.
Okay, so any further discussion on that? That basically takes out the 4,941 we've already approved.
Right,
Puts that back in your.
that's good news to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You gotta split half of it.
Yeah,
That's the way it goes.
You know,
Find your skis.
It's on video, now you're stuck.
Any other further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Good catch.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay.
So it looks like we still. We still have approximately 2.7 million left,
More like,
2.6,
yeah, more like two, right? Because of what's,
well, 4 million minus 6,634 would be 2.634.
that's probably what we actually have versus what's allocated, right? Because, I mean, I've got 1.8 on here, 1.861. Right, as the balance. The initial funding minus what we've already approved.
Oh, so okay, so the initial funding,
Yeah. Minus what we proved to date. Leaves us 1.8 that's approved, and not all that's necessarily spent yet, right?
1.861.
Yeah.
So we're at 1.7 something now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay,
So that was what was proposed was 6.6 million in spending on the bottom.
right.
Right,
And-
but we
and-
don't have,
We won't have that much, by the way. That's what's interesting. I don't,
yeah. That makes it a little confusing when you see the
it
six.
does. There was,
Yeah, we started
Yeah.
at 5.8. 5.850.
well, and a couple of the big ones were, they put 1.5 in for Parloa alone. So there were some other things on there that had not been approved that were big numbers. So we'll go back and look at.
Most of them are.
Yeah. Okay, so next up on the agenda, I'd like to move that we appoint special counsel of Martha Kalina for the 4 assessment appeal cases, Interstate, Duracell, Lax Living Trust, and Bethel Healthcare. A second,
Second.
and for discussion, Marty, would you like to chime in and add anything to that? You're mute, Marty. There you go.
Yes. A couple of things. The first is, probably the biggest one on the list is Duracell. And we had a matter with them about 3 or 4 years ago. It took a couple of years to finish. It started out as an assessment appeal, and then what happened was there ended up being a second suit that was filed by them, and Martha Cullen handled it. And so we have a lot of back information. They're very, very familiar with Duracell. If we have to go through with an appraisal, we're going to probably go back to the same person. So I think they're a very good choice. And they handle quite a bit of assessment appeals, but the one thing I want to bring up, and I want to make you aware of this, and then maybe you could take a separate vote on this. And that is, I was informed that in regards to Bethel Healthcare, right, that had a short appeals period, or I should say return date, was the beginning of June. I went ahead and filed an appearance for the town, and I penciled up an answer in case we had to go forward. And then what happened was Martha Cullen did the regular conflict review and came up with, they have an attorney in their office that handles regulatory matters for the nursing home portion of Bethel Healthcare. So what happened is technically it's a conflict, all right? It's my understanding that the people at Bethel Healthcare and their attorney, they don't have any problems in signing a waiver. I think the town could do the same thing. We have done that in the past. We've had a couple of matters where, but they're so far-fetched and so far away from what we're actually dealing with that it's not a problem. So my recommendation is, Martha Cullen will be appointed for the other 3, and then you take a separate vote on whether or not you would accept a conflict waiver and appoint them for Bethel Healthcare.
Is there another attorney that you would recommend to handle Bethel Healthcare rather than one that has a relationship with them already?
Not for economy of scales, I wouldn't. I think you're better off trying to get one. And I know it sounds strange, but it's been done before many times. We've had a couple matters in the past. In fact, I think we might have had an assessment appeal in the past where there was a problem or a conflict, and we did it. And I know there was a couple of matters where the towns got together in order to go after CL&P, I should say Eversource, from a couple of years ago. And Cohen and Wolf was the attorney, the law firm that was handling the matter. They had things pending with the town. But like I said, they were, that was planning and zoning. This had nothing to do with planning and zoning, and we went ahead and did the waivers then. Same thing. I don't foresee it as a problem. All right, and I know that with the attorneys that we have, Martha Cullen, who will be working on this, if they view it as a problem, they will let us know. But I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. I mean, the other side has to agree to the waiver too. So
Would we do that in our approval contingent on the other side waiving?
yes, that's fine. That's fine. I've been informed that is the case. It's not a problem. Well, the funny part is, if Martha Cullen represents them, they're not doing the assessment appeal. That's for sure. It went out to another law firm out of Hartford.
How's that sound, everybody? So far, just in discussion. Okay, so what I will do is I will amend my original motion. And I move that we appoint Bertha Cullen for special counsel for the assessment appeal cases for Interstate, Duracell, and Lax Living Trust. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. I also move that we assign special counsel of Bertha Cullen for the assessment appeal case for Bethel Healthcare and accept their conflict waiver contingent on the plaintiff giving us a conflict waiver. Have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And
Yeah.
I just ask,
course.
who's the interstate?
Interstate sales. I don't really know a lot about.
It's in Clark Park. It's on one turnage.
It's the lumber.
Oh, the lumber.
Right, it's a lumber company, yeah. The four cases, three of them are commercial or industrial. The one, the Lax Trust it's a house on Aunt Patty's Lane West. That's the only residential that filed though.
Gotcha. Okay,
Thank you.
next I can move to consider Bethel, a resolution allowing Bethel to be designated a Highlands town. All in favor? For discussion?
Aye.
Okay, actually, should get second. Okay, and all in favor? Aye. So what I've handed out to you guys is a handout, and I'll kind of go through what it is. The reason I'm moving quickly is because there's an opportunity, there's no town side to the town, and there's an opportunity that we can have conservation funding. So back in 2000, I think it was 2004, there was an act by Congress which created a Highlands Conservation designation called the Highlands Conservation Act. And it designated a number of towns across the United States, but there were 28 towns in northwestern Connecticut that were designated as a Highlands town. That designation opened up opportunities for funding for conservation purposes, purchasing open land, open space, things of that nature. If you take a look at kind of the frequently asked questions, and by the way, we were presented this through WestCog. In December of last year, the act was reauthorized and it allowed an expansion of other towns to be added, and especially those along the border. Bethel actually borders that current group of towns in western Connecticut. So after discussions, really, there's nothing, for us to lose in this. It's just we get the designation, and then down the line, when there are funds available that are through the Department of U.S. Fish and Wildlife, we may have opportunities to compete for that. If you notice on the front to date, they've given away somewhere in the $80 million range. So I think, it's an opportunity for Bethel. I've looked through everything. I've talked to WestCog, talked to a number of folks. We have letters of support, should be included from Sustainable Bethel. My understanding is a letter of support is on the way from the Bethel Land Trust as well. And really all it takes from our town is a resolution or a letter asking that we be included in the designation. So what I've done is I've prepared a resolution, and I can read it into the record. Actually, do I have to do that as part of the motion? I can read it So I'll read it into the record. Whereas the Highland Conservation Act was first passed by Congress in 2004 to conserve lands with important natural resources and identified 28 towns in western Connecticut as part of the Highlands region. And in December 2022, the Highlands Conservation Act was reauthorized and expanded to the boundary to include additional towns that contained highland resources. Whereas Bethel is fortunate to have extensive tracts of forest land, wetlands, and other undeveloped land that remains in a natural state. These natural areas provide residents with clean drinking water, habitat for wildlife, and access to recreational opportunities. Bethel is home to several sensitive water resources, including reservoirs, aquifers, and well fields. In addition, Bethel is home to areas that contain unique flora and fauna. Several areas in Bethel are listed in the state's natural diversity database, meaning they provide a habitat for threatened or endangered wildlife. Whereas the town of Bethel has a long history of pursuing conservation and open space, and the town's long-term goals include conservation projects that align with the Highlands Conservation Act objectives. Resolved that the town of Bethel will seek inclusion into the Highlands region. Be it further resolved that Daniel E. Carter, as first selectman of the town of Bethel, or his appointee designee, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any documents on behalf of the town of Bethel and to perform all acts and things which he deems necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents. So that's the resolution. I move that we forward the resolution to Deep for inclusion into the Highlands Towns. Have a second?
Yeah.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And I'll get that resolution to you there, Mary. I know you don't have that yet. Okay. Finally, on the agenda, the last item was consideration of any and all offers on lots at Clark Park. Now, we have one offer, and because you waving for me, okay.
No, I'm sorry.
So I'd like to move that we open the consideration for discussion.
So move. Second.
Excellent. All in favor? Aye. In favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so what we have before us, we have an offer for 21 Trowbridge Drive. And the asking price was $540,750. As you can see there, we have an accepted offer now of $500,000. Basically, what has to happen from this point is we don't necessarily have to accept it yet as a board of selectmen, because the board of selectmen has to kick off an actual public hearing on it. So under the state statutes, we can do a public hearing no more than 15 days and no less than 10. And then after that, we're going to have a town meeting to actually vote for this. The other thing that has to happen is the Board of Finance has to approve, and the Planning and Zoning has to review what we do. So we know the review is going to happen on June 27th. So I think we're kind of in a position where we're see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The soonest we can really do a town meeting would what be Friday the 30th or the first week of July, right? Excuse me, a public hearing, right? Because it's 10 days.
That's 4th of July week. 4th of
Yeah.
July, though.
So
And then that's
9, 10, yeah, that's 30th. We have economic development on here. Janice, can you chime in for a second again on what we think with respect to getting it all done? What's
Yeah,
the time?
yeah, I mean, the sooner we can schedule a public hearing, the better, only because, we have an outstanding offer there and we have to go through multiple channels to get it approved. So I think, the sooner we can get it on, get a date on it, the better.
And we have to give 10 days notice.
Yeah, it's gonna, planning and zoning can be on the 27th, and I know we have a Board of Finance meeting on the 22nd. If we can get it on the 30th, that would be my recommendation.
Are you talking about the public hearing?
Public hearing, yeah. We need 10 days notice of public hearing. Is that correct?
It's gotta be, yeah, it's gotta be published in the newspaper between 10 and 15 days before the public hearing date. And I think what you should do is what we've done in the past is if you're gonna go ahead and whatever date it's published by, the same date, you better make sure you have the sign on the, I mean, this sign's kind of crazy considering where the property's located. I don't think the general public's gonna be able to see the sign, but you should have the sign posted at the same time. We have to notice it twice. First one between 10 and 15 days before the public hearing, and the second one at least 2 days before the public hearing.
So I think we could get it into the newspaper as early as Thursday, because I think their publications are Thursday. I already have the sign ready. I just need to put a date on it, but it's already printed and ready to go. So if I can get it in the newspaper this Thursday, then it would be 10 days after that, Marty, am I correct?
Well, you have to put the date down or whatever it's going to be, and you're right, it's got to be at least 10 days before the date of the public hearing. between 10 and 15.
So that would bring us to July 2nd, and then we have July 4th.
Probably
That would
July-
be July 4th weekend, yeah.
So Tuesday, July 5th, would probably the earliest we could do a public
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah, do it before our meeting. We have a meeting that day. The first Tuesday in July.
July 4th, though.
Oh,
We don't
that's-
have
Yeah,
to-
July 4th,
Oh,
so
we
we
don't
have, we have to do a
oh,
special. At some point in the month.
So do the public hearing on the 5th.
Yeah, I think the 5th would work. Okay,
The 5th would work.
okay. Now the next thing we will have to decide too is, it will be up to us to schedule the town meeting. Marty, can we schedule the town meeting in advance, basically with the thought that it's going to be approved at a public hearing and everybody, or do we have to do it, like maybe do a special July 5th? And have
Well-
another,
Well, you don't, the public hearing isn't going to approve anything. It's going to be the Board of Selectmen. So my suggestion would be if you're going to have the public hearing on the 5th, you have a special Board of Selectmen meeting that right after, it, you know.
Right.
You know, if you have this at 7 o'clock, schedule it for 7:30 Board of Selectmen and officially approve it on your end. And you can, I don't see any reason why, based on that, if everything goes the way it should go, you can go ahead and schedule the town meeting tonight if you want, special town meeting.
yeah, and as far as notification for town meeting, it's the same thing, right? Is that 14 days and 10? I don't have that in front of me.
No, I don't think it's quite the same. It's a little bit different. It's usually, I'd have to check. I'll double check what it is. I think it's, hold on.
I'd be shorter. Well, I know, let's put it this way, I know with notification requirements, if we're notifying the public hearing in the town meeting, we can probably have plenty of time. So the question is, we probably want a town meeting as soon as we can after July 5th,
Correct.
right? So, we can certainly do it, July 6th. Probably be better than the 7th. Any thoughts?
Do it on the 6th, yeah.
It's up to
And we'll
you.
talk more about this position we're in. Okay. Okay, so then what it would look like is this, right? We would, EDC already did approval last night. The Board of Finance has a meeting this Thursday, which we would assume they would make an approval. Next Tuesday, P and Z can do their review or approval. And then we would look at doing a public hearing on July 5th at 7 p.m. We would also do our special meeting, the Board of Selectmen, at the same time. And then we would have the special town meeting the next day on the 6th. That logic seem to work with everybody?
Yeah.
Did you want the special Board of Selectmen meeting at 7:30?
I'd like you to notice it at 7, please. And what we're going to do is we'll open the special meeting of the Board of Selectmen, similar to the annual town meeting. That way, whenever the public hearing is, we can actually then go into finishing our votes. What we'll do is we'll do our, the first thing on the agenda for the special meeting will be recess. So, given where we stand, I'd like to make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for the consideration of sale of 21 Trowbridge Drive Lot 2 for July 5th at 7 p.m. in location to be determined. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. I move that that we schedule a special town meeting for the consideration of the sale of 21 Trowbridge Drive Lot 2 for July 6th at 7 p.m. location to be determined. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, those motions carry. One other piece of the discussion that we should think about. we have another, well, actually, we have 3 more lots to consider. There are some things going back and forth on one of them now, a possibility that we could have something, in the hopper soon. I had discussed this with Marty and he's gonna do some more looking into it, but if you look at our charter gives us the ability to appoint the Economic Development Commission as our exclusive agent, similar to what we did for the creation of Clark Park. But we can make them our agent for selling, as long as we give the approval specifically to sell the properties that they want to sell. So if you look at the statute, it says, they can sell if they have approval. We can also designate them our agent. When we have our special meeting, right, and we have our public hearing, good chance we can bring that up and talk about that. If we want to, because what will happen is for those other 3 lots, given the time constraints of what it would take, we would have to have public hearings and actual town meetings on all of them. Or we have the ability by state statute to give them the power to sell them. They would still have to do the public hearing. So that would still have to happen in the statute. So I just want to throw that for consideration. I think we'll put it on the agenda of our special meeting. Marty, would you think we should go ahead?
Do they, so the economic development would do the public hearing?
Yep.
But we would still have to do the special town meeting to sell the
We
property.
would not have to,
We would not.
because they would,
Well,
they would.
I think, Rich, what he's talking about is the possibility of having a town meeting and have the town meeting give the EDC the authority to go ahead and sell.
Right, so,
Correct?
right, exactly. So this way, the town, so what we would do is we would consider it at our next Board of Selectmen meeting at the public hearing.
Yeah,
And then we could go on and we can add that to the town meeting as an agenda item to give EDC the approval. And the town meeting is the approval authority. So give us some thought, because we'll have a discussion on it. Because otherwise, we're gonna have to have, the 3 separate public hearings again, which will happen anyway, but then we'll have to have 3 town meetings every time we sell this property. So I just kind of wanted to add that to the discussion that we should consider. And that is our last item on the agenda. If there's no further interest or discussion in anything,
Make a motion to.
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Marty. Thanks, Janice. Thanks, Kendra.
Good night.